Good to see everyone. We had a good team meeting today, and wanted to make sure we congratulated the team in terms for the division. It was a win yesterday that was produced by everybody, so it definitely belongs to everybody. And it was a tough division, but good team. So we talked about that. I know everyone will talk about more and what's out there, but for us, our mindset, it goes right back to New Orleans. And we have the process each week that we go through to get ready. That helps us. We have a language that we talk to one another like. That helps us. And then the last part is we have a brotherhood that allows us to be accountable to one another. So for us, that's where our focus has turned. We did that today. And so we're ready to get rolling. We're pumped to be back at home. And for the fans, we don't know how many games have left in the dome. But we also want them to know we need that juice and energy. Let's try and blow the top off of it. With that, I'll open it up to your questions from the game.
Yeah, Coach, turning to the Saints, how are you health-wise? Do you have to sit anybody, or do you even consider that with, still some things out there for you to attain?
Health-wise, we came through the game great. We're hopeful with Hooper and Campbell. We'll see where their process goes through the week. But no one will be limited heading into the game, from injuries from yesterday. And then as far as that, it's all out there for us. So we're going to battle for it in every way that we can this weekend against New Orleans.
Is that some Brotherhood violation to even think about sitting
It
people?
was. I was going to call you on it. We'll give you a pass today. But no, we know there's an opportunity for us there, and we're going to go for it in the biggest way that we can.
This, you've been on point with your message of accountability since you got here. How satisfying is this now to have a division championship and show that what you've done with the culture is come to pass?
It's exciting for me to see the amount of different guys that can get involved in the team. Whether it's a new player like DJ who got involved yesterday, and the work that he's put in behind the scenes that you guys get to see at practice. So for those guys, when their opportunity comes, that they'll nail it. And that's also being accountable too. When your number's called, as you put the work in. And so for that part, I was most pleased about our awareness for the football. And so to be +2 yesterday, and then in the year now to somewhere around +10, that's a significant improvement for us.
You rearranged the locker room and changed that.
We knew that was an important part to get connected off the field. Allows you to get your world in order on the field, but you have to be close. You have to build that connection, and it's not something that happens in a week. It's not for this season. It didn't happen after the first week. Didn't happen after the first 6 weeks. You got to go through some things together, some struggles, to create that progress, and we've done that, and that's why this team is so connected. And for me, I still wanted it to happen overnight, that connection, but it didn't. And I did recognize it doesn't happen over, in 1 week or just after, the training camp ends. It takes a while, and you need some of those struggles to go through. And we've had those, and they're not always comfortable, but they're necessary.
Hey, Coach, would you talk?
You had an undrafted rookie catch a touchdown on the very next drive, an undrafted rookie intercept Cam Newton. As a coach who hears so much about player development, how nice to see those guys progress so much where they can contribute that way.
We're pumped for both those guys. You could probably see the energy on the sideline when they had their catches or had an interception. So at this point, we've been under the same roof for a long time, so we don't think of this guy's a rookie or he's still going. At this point, it's that's a good play. That's honestly where our focus was.
Coach,
Denver won a Super Bowl last year. Been bounced. They're not going to make the playoffs. They played Carolina, who's obviously out of the playoffs. Can you just talk about just how fragile winning is from year to year? And
I can also relate to when you play really well and you do go the next year. Oftentimes those are tough ones, and you really get everyone's best shot. Knowing from Carolina and Denver, all the accolades that team gets going into the next season. Maybe not at this part of the year, but going into that next season. Oftentimes you do get every team you play their best shot. Lord Malloy was one that had told me that during his time in New England a year after a Super Bowl. So that was the hardest one because of everybody bringing it. But I do think each year is different, and the teams are different, and the way they connect is different. So I don't think there's a lot we're just going to do what we did last year. I've never felt that way. I do feel that each year it's unique and special to that time, and that's why when you have it, man, you try to capture it and go for it the biggest way you can.
like when you were in Seattle, did you notice something that changed from year to year? Not that you guys fell off the map, obviously, but something that felt different, or was it?
I think it felt in 2014, you did feel like you were taking everybody's, shot at you. The team had success the year prior. And so it was a battle knowing that you're going to take care of everybody's best shot going, where I think when you're on the way up through that, you don't normally have that. So I'm not surprised how difficult it can be the year after for Carolina and Denver having, just terrific years for those two last year, and of course culminated by Denver. But those are teams that the year after his, and I think that's what made New England such a remarkable story through the last decade of how well they've played after having success. So that's pedaling downhill, knowing that you're playing well and you're still ready to rock.
A lot of times teams that come back from a difficult season and have a winning season, win a division championship, they're relatively injury-free, and they kind of tend to have a pretty easy schedule. And that has not been the case for you guys. You've played a difficult schedule. You've had a ton of injuries, and you've been able to.
Yeah, and I think each year you're not quite sure what the schedule, how it's going to play out, who you're playing, but we knew it was going to be challenging, not just from where we were playing, but who we were playing, not just the trips out west and of course our own division. So we knew it was going to be a battle, but I think when you're able to not look so far ahead, try to stay connected into what you're doing, make that the primary purpose, knowing that the game 3 weeks from now doesn't really affect what you have to do today, this week to get ready. And when you have a process to trust and to use to get ready, you don't allow yourself to go so far down the line that you get anxious about who you're going to play in 2 or 3 weeks. And you put it all into this week and you try to empty the bucket and then go put it back in again. So we do use the Etch-a-Sketch reference quite often for you 90s babies. You probably don't know what an Etch-a-Sketch is. But it's re-establishing that focus each week. That Monday, let's put it all behind us, and that's, us having a process we go through, telling the truth Monday. The guys have the next day off, and then you go for it again. It allows you to stay in that week. So the stuff that's down the road, that can only jam you up if you're thinking down the road, and the team, right in front of you is the most important thing.
Dave, I asked you a couple of weeks ago where the defense stood, and you said it's still got ways to go.
Yep.
Do you feel now, after what you saw last week, that these guys are very much playoff ready?
I think since the bye, Vaughn, the defense for sure has been improving. I felt that from the ball hawking. We've had numerous games where we've gotten some takeaways. That part for sure has increased. Our points allowed has gone down since that time as well. So those two things allow you to play better, and it still comes down to our fundamentals and playing with speed and playing with effort. So that part, I've seen the arrow going up, and it wasn't just for 1 week, but it's been for a month now that's been the case. So we've got a terrific challenge again this week, but over the last month, I have seen that intent, that discipline, that communication, that ball hawking, trying to out-hit you mentality, take another step up for sure.
And how have you assessed the secondary without Trufant?
Yeah, it's been difficult because we know the playmaker that True is, but honestly, having Jalen come through when he has was really significant, Vaughn. To say he's True, that's not fair to any player to compare him to this. But what I can tell you is that we've totally counted and relied on him, this matchup, this technique, and I've really seen his level of play improve. He's had to show a lot of grit this year to be out, and be, without, being even around our team for 4 months, then 4 games, then in and out, inactive, and then assuming a starting role. He's had to battle. And I think sometimes when you have to go battle, and I think we can all relate to this, when you get tested and you come through, having a little bit of resiliency, it makes you stronger. And I think that's been totally demonstrated with Jalen. He was tested, it's been hard, and he's come out the other end tougher, stronger, more resilient.
One last question on the same subject. Rico said, he has to adjust, when you have different guys on the corner with him, the adjustment. What about the adjustments he's had to make,
It
playing?
probably starts with the communication,
Right.
where a hand signal or a look that I may have been able to give you, that same person, like, why is he staring at me? No, I'm trying to tell you this play's about to happen. So Rico, as the QB of it, with the communication, he has to spend a lot of time with the guys on the outside as well. So it starts with Marquand. In the room, they constantly test and quiz one another to get each other ready. And that part of the Brotherhood is strong. And you see it each week with, I told you about with Matt Schaub, to Matt Ryan at the end of the week. He's like Alex Trebek in the quizzes and the tests and, all the questions that he fires at him. those small interactions that happen teammate to teammate are really strong.
Coach, you've been talking a lot about the brotherhood, and that's been an important concept here. In lieu of the difficulties you've had in the season in terms of guys being injured, small losing streak, and then the things that are going on socially, how important has that been in terms of helping this team be successful this year?
It's a great question, and we have really recognized we're all an extension of one another. And so for us to play well, you can play well individually, but if the guy next to you, is out of whack or not doing his part, it's not going to come to life. So recognizing all three phases where we're an extension of one another, how we play, taking care of one another, and understanding that accountability we have to each other, and you in return to me, that's a powerful feeling, and it's one that this team has captured for sure.
Coach, when you first got hired, I'm sure your head was spinning about
Yes.
trying to be a head coach. But how much do you know about the division, the teams in it, the players in it, and whatever you thought it would
Right.
take to succeed?
Yeah, you know what? Quite a bit more. I know, and not a big surprise, I know so much more now about the division, about the rivals. When I first came in, I didn't have the same appreciation. I knew the featured players on all the teams. You knew that especially now the quarterback play amongst the division. The guys who can run it, how to feature the players. It's a strong division. I didn't have as much an appreciation for it then as I do now. Now that you play them each year, you know where their strengths are, the teams know one another. So I felt like I was the one that was trying to learn the division where maybe, and certainly in Ron and Sean's case, they'd already been, with their teams.
I don't know if you know this, but no team had ever repeated as division champions until Carolina did it the last 3 years before this year.
I had heard that, and I was, obviously I was like, it wasn't like shocked beyond belief, but it made sense. But I said, boy, there's some good teams, and we're at battles for it each one. And Carolina, to their credit, they went for it, and especially last year, I think, just the year that they had, and they weren't going to back off this year. I think they started like 1-5, and then it went to like 5-3. So we knew this was going to be a tough team, just based on the history of them and how they play. But yeah, that's a big number to know that prior to that time, and I don't know how many years was the NFC South? Did it change in like 2002? Is that when the realignment happened? So between 2 to, was that 14, and a new person each year, I think that's pretty significant.
I know you'd probably rather not talk about another team, let alone a division team, but I thought they were going to be set in this division for a couple of years. They had everybody coming back almost. They had the MVP at quarterback. They obviously lost Josh Norman, which was big. But does it surprise you? I'm trying to ask this in a delicate way since they're in the same division, but does it surprise you that, getting back to the whole winning is so fragile thing, that they sort of dropped off and things can change that much from year to year?
It doesn't, I guess, I want to say this in the right way. I recognize how hard it is when the two teams that play for it all, you do get oftentimes throughout the season everyone's best shot, because they've gotten the attention, they've gotten the accolades, and they've got, let's call it what it is, they were at a spot where everyone wanted, and players and the team standing as well in terms of being a division winner. So I'm not surprised that next year can be very difficult. I recognize that after having been a part of a team that had to go through that process, I wouldn't have been able to maybe understand that without having gone through that myself.
Can chemistry, though, in the locker room change that much from year to year?
I think it definitely can. I think we're a very good example of that, where our team chemistry on our team is quite a bit different from 2015 to 2016. So I think each year, all relationships, you got to put the time in. And the team chemistry, that's like a giant relationship where how does all these new pieces fit together? How does the same connection happen? So it does take a lot of work year to year.
Coach, I know you're on to the Saints, and there's a lot still on the table, but with the way the schedule worked out, were you able to take a chance and breathe yesterday and enjoy the holiday and kind of revel in this NFC South title?
Definitely took some time to breathe in. It is unusual in the NFL to have a day, on a holiday where you have a day off, and almost all the teams did, and how they choose to use that. But we slipped a little bit of football in there as well to make sure we know what's at hand. But we were thankful to have that chance to breathe.
But Coach, you're studying the Saints. Looks like they're running it a little bit more than early on with Hightower and Ingram, and looks like Thomas has emerged over there along with Cooks.
And to have that many receivers with that many targets with Thomas and Cooks and Snead, and I know that Snead has missed some. I'm not sure on Cooks. I think Snead missed our game, I think, or one of them early on. And then to have Mark Ingram, I think he's averaging 5 yards a carry, if I'm not mistaken. They've had some games where they've run it over 200, and you guys have heard me say this before, that's what makes things so difficult when run game, play action, all the stuff that goes along with that. So I've been impressed by them. Also studied some of their defense yesterday and today. They're not allowing the explosive plays. They're playing good run defense. So we recognize it's going to be a battle here at home this weekend, and one we're looking forward to.
Bird jumped out at you lately. Looks like he's finally coming around.
Yes, and amongst others with them, new spots at linebackers, but this time of year, there are new faces on every team, and how do those guys fit into the package and how are they utilized? But just for years, I've, with Coach Payton and their scheme and offensively, the way they get guys involved, it's very impressive.
As a defensive coordinator, pardon me, how much attention did you pay to passer rating? Matt's numbers are, he's 115 and the number 2.
Yeah, my math skills are not good enough to figure out passer rating. And, I generally look at, obviously the completion, yards per catch, yards per attempt. But Matt, he's had a terrific year, and it's by example of how many different guys get involved. I think yesterday was another day where maybe 9 or 10 different guys got involved, and we often talk about Julio, and he's such an important part, but no one would be as excited for it as many teammates to get involved as Julio, and you guys would know that from being around him. Like, that's a stat he would be very excited about, knowing that how many of his teammates get involved, and he helps that in a big way because of his humility, because how hard he runs his routes. There's some other opportunities for other guys as well. So it'd be a good question for him, but that'd be something I would imagine he would have been excited for to hear as well.
Coach, I know you're focused on the Saints, like you said, but you're one of the 3 teams, I believe, that have clinched the playoff spots. Any general thoughts on the Cowboys and the Seahawks?
Well, we've played Seattle, so my general thoughts on them, I know, just how tough they are defensively. I know what Russ can do, with his feet. I think Doug Baldwin has taken his, stuff to another level, and the addition of Graham and how they feature their guys. They play real speed on special teams. I know them better than most because we played them. We played Dallas last year, but I'll go back to my point, like, teams are different from year to year. They're quite a bit different. They're a perfect example of that. I've got real appreciation for how they run it. I've got real appreciation for the fundamentally sound way that they play defense. They just don't allow big plays. They play tough. They're a good tackling team. So past that, I don't know much about either team without obviously knowing we've studied Seattle from playing them, but that's all I can give them.
And then what about home field, what that means in the playoffs, to have?
Yeah, having an opportunity to play at home, it's significant for sure. It's so much fun when you get, a playoff game at home in front of your own crowd. The energy that kind of comes along with that. So it's a byproduct of winning your division where you're guaranteed one of those, and then if you have a chance to, go past that where better things can happen, then you go from there. But it's a significant thing and a really cool experience.
You see that so many times with the trajectory that a player like Flacco, I'm asking a quarterback question here,
Sure.
the kind of season Cam had last year, what Russell Wilson did, what Flacco did, and Matt seems to be, my observation would be that he's on that trajectory to maybe have an MVP season, but to do something really special. You kind of get that.
I do, and
emotionally.
this time of year is kind of when MVP conversations begin, and I think it's also important to recognize when those conversations begin, there's a bunch of people that are involved that are playing really well, and I think Matt would probably be the first to tell you how many guys on our team are playing well, and he is kind of the conduit of that, where he's orchestrating, 10 different guys caught passes. But any MVP talk, I know it's an individual award, but generally there's a lot of people that are playing really well for that to happen.
Coach, with Kyle Shanahan obviously doing such a great job, interested in him for other jobs. Have you talked to him about how that doesn't become a distraction?
We've had discussions over that for sure. So it's nothing that we talk regularly about, but yeah, that's certainly something that we've discussed before.
All right. Thanks,
Coach,
Yes.
back to the injury report real quick. Lavitre's fine?
Vitre's, yeah.
He's coming off the hip injury?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll be limited or not, but we're anticipating him getting full to go for the game.
Okay.
All right, you guys have a good one.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, see you tomorrow. Yeah, you're welcome. You doing, Liz? Hey, good. Ready to rock? Yeah.